Tell a free story during my service job. I was drafted right out of high school. And then taught when they came back and played college tennis. So, yeah, you played it on some point. It's not really great, but it was the first scholarship player at the university. Yeah. 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 One of them third one. Yeah. First round related. Where you leave that college.
Or if I guess their dessert. All right. We're gonna start a little bit early, so enjoy your desserts. Um, and feel free to get up and get some coffee, whatever, while we're getting to our program. So today we're going to start. I'm going to welcome everybody because we don't usually get such a good day like this after last night and the last few days, but it's nice to have everybody here. I'm going to introduce someone who most of you know, having experienced either the squash courts or the racket and tennis courts, but Reid is our head rackets professional. We don't normally have a chance for our professionals to come in front of the members and talk about their program and what's going on. So this is a nice treat to have you here for this. You know, Wade sent out a note, which probably all saw, with a pretty detailed rendition of Reid's background and how he got to Valencia. But just to summarize quickly, you know, he came from the tennis program at Gonzaga, and then he spent 7 years at the Vintage Club in Indian Wells before taking the helm at the rackets program at the Valley Club in Sun Valley for 12 years. And now he's been at Valencia for 5 years, and Jerry and I were talking about that. Doesn't seem that's gone by pretty fast. It seems like it's just the other day, but the program's been enriched from all that experience that you brought to Valencia. So this afternoon, Rick's going to share his thinking about where the racket program is headed, and I think you'll find that quite interesting. So, Reid, welcome, and please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Morris, and thank you everybody for making it out. I know everyone has a lot going on during the summer, and so to fit this in, I really appreciate you guys making the time. I also want this to be somewhat interactive. I think you guys probably know the history of your club a little bit better than I do. So if there's anything that you want to chime in on or have any questions throughout this, please feel free to do so. So yes, been here for almost 5 years, so hopefully I'll make it to September. But it's been an absolute gift to be able to manage this program. I feel a tremendous amount of pride every day pulling into the gates, and it's just really fun to have such a creative opportunity within the racket sports world. I feel like we have not only one of the most interesting programs in the world, but one of the most robust, and so it's a lot of fun to be a part of that. You didn't think I knew how to work with PowerPoint? No, So I'm going to start today. What we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about the history and the future of racket sports. So we're going to talk a little bit about the history of racket sports at Inwincia, how they shaped the lives and continue to do for generations, the history of racket sports within my own family, and how they kind of shaped my journey in getting here. The future of racket sports, both at a regional and global level, as well as the future of tennis, which is in a little bit of trouble right now, and the future of our own racket complex at Valencia, which, as most of you know, there's some exciting developments going on. So quite a bit to cover. So if you're not aware, and sometimes people actually aren't aware, sometimes we have members that only play during the summer months, as an example. So often people don't even realize how many amenities that we do have within the Rackets universe. So we have 9 outdoor hard-through courts, 3 of which will be brand new with underground irrigation and opening soon. We have 8 brand new pickleball courts with state-of-the-art cushion X surface that's outside. We have the nicest croquet court, I would say, in America. We have 3 lighted platform tennis courts, the newly renovated paddle hut, 2 indoor tennis courts, which also have lined for 7 indoor pickleball courts, which is kind of a sneaky amenity that we have that a lot of people don't realize. 2 indoor single squash courts, 2 indoor double squash courts, lots of ping pong tables in badminton, and aspirations to add padel. So we'll get to padel later on. But already for our membership size, this is pretty unique. Where I grew up, we had 2 indoor tennis courts. One was playable. So to have all of these different amenities and to be able to roll out of bed and play all these different racket sports or coach all these racket sports is a lot of fun for us. So uh, pretty cool old photo that Scott Vincent shared with me. These are the old grass tennis courts. You can almost see how thick the grass looks. It almost looks like a carpet, which is kind of the older version of grass, which was very low bouncing and kind of another fun picture here of when we hosted a Davis Cup event back in the early 1900s. So some history that we have here. In addition to hosting Western Lawn Tennis Championships in the early 1900s, we hosted Australia with Canada and in the early 1900s. So again, unique to our size is the depth of rackets that we have. And the 50-50 as an example, if you've never been a part of that event, it's one of the most unbelievable events, I think, in the world. It's a double squash event. It's been so well received that we now run that in 2 other locations. So Westchester Country Club in Charleston, we go down with former members from Inwincia that go down and we run these events. So we are looking to honor and preserve all of these past tournaments that we have, and there are quite a few, while starting to kind of make our mark with some new ones. Indoor rackets building, it's not a Pizza Hut. I've heard people joke around about that, but honestly, that building is one of the coolest buildings that you'll find. It's very sneaky. If you drive by Green Bay, you would never know that all of that is there. And it actually won an award. If you're ever interested to kind of see what that is, come to my office and I'll share it with you. I hired somebody named Susan Evans a few years ago who worked for us for a while and then moved to Portugal. But Uncle actually won that award and she brought it to me, and that was kind of a fun thing. So it's a really it's an interesting building. It's a little funky, but I'll tell you what, it gets us through the winter, and it sets us apart from every other club. Outdoor campus, as you know. So if you see courts 3, 3, 4, and 5, so obviously this thing here, those are the ones that are currently under construction. I was told they were supposed to be turning green on Wednesday. I have been harassing our court builder, who I think is using the weather as a crutch right now, but we will continue to harass them. Those should be done here very soon. Everything's ready to go, so I'm hoping that we can get out of this capacity issue soon, because it seems like a lot of these days with 3, 4, and 5 out of commission and 1 and 2 not draining properly, we're down to 4 courts off them. So thank you all for your patience as we get through this. It's the pain of progress, as I tell everybody. So how the heck did I get here? That's an interesting question. So I am from the middle of nowhere. If you've ever been to Klamath Falls, I'm sorry. I apologize in advance, and I hope you got gas and left. But that is where I am from. So not exactly a tennis mecca. I grew up with a tennis family, and that was kind of what got me into this world. You can see this will be relevant in a minute, but this is where I used to train. So that is, as you can see, a little bit away from where I grew up in Klamath Falls. So that is my baby photo that my mom wanted me to put on here. And yes, I do have I got both hands on the ball there. So I think I did all right there. My grandfather, so this is on my mother's side. I was very, very close to my grandparents on my mother's side. I actually never met my father's parents, but on my mother's side, My grandfather, who you can see is this handsome gentleman right here, Noel Dietz. He actually got drafted to fight in World War II right out of high school at the age of 17. Went and fought in the war, had was kind of decorated, had a Bronze Star, Purple Heart, had a kind of amazing campaign there, and then I actually was the first scholarship collegiate tennis player for Southern Oregon University. So I always kind of joke around that hard to feel much pressure after you come back from storming the beaches of Okinawa to trying to clinch a dual match. Seems like it would be pretty easy to stay loose in that situation. So racket sports were again a huge part of my life. My grandfather played all the way until the end of his life. These are my parents on my dad's side. I did not meet, but they were also active tennis players and actually grew up in the Chicago area. So my grandfather was a minister in Chicago. My parents were here recently. My dad's kind of getting a little up in age and was really wanting to go see where he used to be a minister at, and we were recommended by the Uber driver probably shouldn't go down that way. So maybe in a few more years it'll get a little safer. Here's my father. So my dad is an exceptional human being, but also an exceptional competitor and coach. So my dad, he taught himself how to play tennis and played in the C's division, and the next year played the B's division, then the A's division, and the Open division, and won it every time. Just kind of found a way, and he was my coach growing up as well as my sister. That's my mom there on the far right, who also is an avid tennis player and still plays. They both play tennis and pickleball still almost every day. My dad begrudgingly took up pickleball and actually really actually likes it a lot now. And yeah, we still like to just get out and rally a little bit, so it's fun. That is not a prison. That is actually my elementary school, and that's where my dad was a teacher. So because I was from a small town, they allowed me to be in his classroom. So for fifth and sixth grade, I was Mr. Arthur was my dad, and a lot of people didn't even know he was my dad. So it was a lot of time in the classroom, and then I had this little graphic here because this is the route I would take every day to go play tennis. So we drove an hour and a half each way, and we did that about 4 to 5 days a week, starting at the age of I was probably at 11 or 12 when we started doing that. A lot of time in the car. The rule was when we got to Medford that you had to play tennis as much as you drove. So that was 3 hours of tennis and then getting back and then driving back and doing my homework under the dome light. Hard to express how grateful I am that my dad did that for me, and also my mom worked so hard to allow us to do that as well. I started playing national tournaments. I started playing regional tournaments when I was about 8, nationals when I was about 11. Started making zonal teams and Junior Davis Cup eventually. And so it was kind of a fun run. I was fortunate enough to have my sister, I trained a lot with her. She was 4 years older than me. Uh, Probably the most hard for me to say enough about her. She was one of those people that was ranked number one in the section every year, but won the sportsmanship award as well. Uh, Very rare human being. She ended up going to William and Mary to play college tennis. They were top 10 in the nation when she was there. She ended up playing number one, was an All-American, ended up top 20 in the nation in doubles, wins in singles, ended up going on to get a world ranking. Probably the most impressive thing about her. And eventually I'll get her out here. She's very elusive sometimes, but she won the Arthur Ashe Award in college, which is only given to one male and one female. And so she got to go to the US Open and was honored there. A huge deal. And so a lot of that's more about off court accomplishments than on court accomplishments, which she had plenty, valedictorian, 3.9, double majored in college, the whole deal. So very, very proud of her. But it was tough when she left because I lost my sparring partner. Here's a nice little article talking about as I was kind of getting through my high school campaign. Again, she was 4 years older than me, so I was entering my sophomore year, and she was entering her sophomore year. And the newspaper did a nice little write-up on us here. These are my so this is kind of I like this. These are my high school tennis courts. Yes, that's a freight train right next to it, and it was horrible. You can also probably see there's about 6 inches of space to the side of the court there, which was a massive advantage when I was on the other side of that court because I would move over to the ad side and I would hit the kick serve. And before they would realize the dimensions of the court, a lot of times the player would just run right into the fence because it was it was so tight on the side. So um, you can see no wind screens. This is again, this is not luxury tennis by any means. And then on the right there is actually when I was playing in college. If you ever wonder why my back is maybe kind of not feeling as great, that's just how I used to load up in my serve every time. But yeah, you can see windscreens, nicer courts. So it's really, I thought when I got to college, this is amazing. Everything is just pristine. I got to play for Gonzaga University. That's again up in Eastern Washington. If you didn't know, as pitiful as we are for basketball historically in that conference, tennis was a powerhouse. We actually were one of the best conferences in the country. I started out playing three singles and number one doubles and had no business playing that level. It was a hard reality and it took a while to kind of get adjusted. But by my senior year, I was playing number one singles. I was elected captain by my teammates, which is one of the proudest things of my career. And you can see that most of the schools that we competed against were in California. So there's a lot of traveling. At that time, we didn't have an indoor, so we were on the road a lot. And Pepperdine actually won the national title my senior year, so they were quite good. So enough about me. After I finished my playing career, I had an opportunity to go to the Vintage Club. So raise your hands if anybody even knows what the Vintage is or has been there. If not, it's a pretty unique place. It is kind of a fantasy land. The complex is one of the nicest, I think, in the world. 36 holes of golf. When I took my next job from the Vintage, they joked that the flower budget from the Vintage was bigger than the entire grounds budget at the Valley Club because that's that's the level they take it at there. But it was really an amazing place to have my first position and learned a lot there. We hosted again a lot of the players from BNP Paribas would come out. I got to witness some of the best coaches in the world while I was there, and had a really good time while doing it. And then also my wife and I had our son during this time. And then I eventually got the position at the Valley Club. So, has anyone been to Sun Valley? If you haven't, you should go. I have not been since I've left. I tried to get back and it just didn't work out last time. But here's an absolutely beautiful setting. I think when I took this position, some people are going, "How could you leave?" You know, and I have a lot of reasons why. And one is community. But this was a really fun place to manage. You can kind of see here we had tennis courts, two tennis courts here, two more here, one here. These were also bubbled during the winter months. And then we had play courts and pickleball at the back, so 8 pickleball. So that was a really fun journey building that, and it took me a while. So I was there for 12 years, and then obviously took this position. But while there, it didn't start like that. And so kind of similar to what we're doing now, we're in a kind of a growth trajectory and we're building. These are some very grainy Google Google Maps images. But as you can see, this is right around the time when I arrived at the Valley Club. They added a lap pool right when I got there. This is actually a platform tennis court. It's really hard to see. It was in the middle of the complex there, and I thought, what is this weird sport? I had never even heard of it. And was fortunate enough that our general manager had this great idea to move it away. And that allowed us to put two tennis courts here, which eventually got converted to pickleball, as you can see. And then we ended up with this incredibly, I think, one of the most complete complexes in the Pacific Northwest when we were done with it. So it took a while to get there, but somebody asked, how did I get here? And I think this is a big reason why. I think that somebody took notice of just the growth that we were able to build out there. And right before I left, I was actually adding padel as well and a couple more platform tennis courts. So it was a beautiful campus. We also added these two domes, so it could be going on in the winter months. I'm going to skip this because I feel like it's enough about that. So let's get into, okay, now that I'm here, I learned a lot so far about squash, single squash, double squash, platform tennis, and then just rackets in general are moving at a pretty aggressive pace right now globally. So if you didn't know, padel has been coming for a very long time. So it's huge in Europe. As big as pickleball is in the States, padel is bigger globally as well as in Europe. And actually started in Mexico, if you didn't know, and started a long time ago, actually the 1960s, which is funny enough. I believe it was 2 years before, when pickleball was invented, it was actually around the same time. I think people think that pickleball is a newer sport, but it was also invented in the 60s. But all of a sudden, everything's kind of coming to a head here, and we're getting a lot of momentum. I think, though, personally, pickleball is less likely to gain major traction now due to the rising cost of infrastructure investment. So if you look on the West Coast, where I came from, so to speak, we were a lot further ahead of the East Coast and the Midwest in terms of pickleball. A big reason why isn't that you guys were just late to the punch or lazy about it. It was that if you look on the West Coast, the majority of complexes are hard courts, right? A lot of them were overbuilt in the 80s too, when tennis was huge. So you have a lot of these complexes. One was in Sun Valley, actually, at the resort. They have like 22 hard tennis courts. It's a lot. And a can of paint doesn't cost that much. So painting the courts and converting existing hard tennis courts over to pickleball was very inexpensive and happened aggressively on the West Coast. You had a lot of places that had courts to lose, and they said, well, why not just paint them and convert these over? If pickleball dies, we can paint them back to tennis. We don't have that here. We have mostly True courts, right? You have mostly True, which are clay courts on the East Coast. Why is that? Well, all of basically a True is spelled Hartru. That's a company. It's not hard true, but hard true is a basalt rock that gets mined in Virginia. As you ship that, it takes a lot of material to build these courts. So as you ship it, it's very expensive. So that's why you see mostly on the East Coast, you'll see a lot of hard true courts, whereas on the West Coast, it just is so expensive to ship it. It's cheaper to do asphalt and concrete. Now, though, most of those conversions have happened. So now it's going to be really interesting when you're looking at apples to apples in terms of dollars as far as what you're going to invest in. Are you going to build pickleball or are you going to build padel if it's about the same amount of money? I feel like padel is going to make a big push here for that reason. Does that all make sense? I hope I'm making sense. Also, globally, I think that you'll see that there are sports now that when I was growing up, there were not European players in the NBA. There were a couple. I remember Manu Ginobili, or even that was later on, right? Arvydas Sabonis actually was my guy. Now you look at the NBA is almost there's so many European players, and just the amount of competition going on globally is massive. Regionally, pickleball has lagged here for a variety of reasons, some of which what I just said. Platform tennis has been a huge part of the Midwest. I'll be interested to see if that continues. Aluminum now, and that's what those courts are made out of, is extremely expensive. What used to cost $90,000 to build a platform tennis court is literally almost double that now, if not more. So we're talking $170,000 to build a platform tennis court, which is crazy. So it'll be interesting to see what that does to that sport. The lead builders also now starting to build padel courts. Will tennis make a comeback? There's college tennis and NIL implications. I think we can get back to that. I think that's a whole nother conversation. And if you don't know about the NIL situation, it's pretty bad, and it's impacting all sports, including tennis. Now, if you want to get a great player to play, my friend who's the USC coach that some of you have met, he tells me that a full ride scholarship now plus $100,000 is often not enough. Now, that makes no sense because no one's paying to go watch college tennis matches. So inevitably, I think at some point this whole thing implodes. How does tennis survive and stay relevant when it's slipping in the ranks now with soccer, lacrosse, MMA, NASCAR, now even the WNBA? I mean, I just think about when I was a kid, I don't remember MMA, extreme sports like you'll see on ESPN or soccer. Now my kid's huge into soccer, one of my sons. So all of this is challenging. Racket sports are doing really well globally, and I think they are doing well overall. But tennis is definitely in a tough spot right now, especially with pickleball and padel coming for it. Padel starting in Miami and San Diego. Padel has already taken hold in the United States. You've already seen some pop up in Chicagoland, and it's the fastest growing sport globally, and it's starting to make significant inroads in the United States. Padel clubs and courts are popping up here in Chicago. Clubs in Mundelein, Highland Park, Glenview, and West Loop. Peer clubs on the East Coast, such as Round Hill, the Tuxedo Club, the Field Club, Marion Cricket, and Philly Cricket have built courts and are enjoying a high level of member usage. So these are peer clubs. This is not just going on at urban centers. Saddle and Cycle put up a court last summer. It is the most utilized court at that club. All right, so our outdoor complex in its current state, I think everyone kind of knows the projects that we have been up to. Here's our reconstruction of courts 3, 4, and 5. The hitting wall there was removed so that we could stage all of that stone, which is a significant amount of stone. And then we are very, very pleased with our new pickleball courts and patio. Those came out fantastic. They've been very well received by the membership, and we expect a lot of play on those for not just this season, but for special events as well. All right, so here's the elephant in the room. This is kind of the, a lot of this we'll get into Q&A as well. I have heard a lot of telephone about what's going on with courts one and two. I've heard that things have already been approved or things have already, they already know exactly what's going on. And that's just, unless I'm mistaken, and because I'm not on the board, but that is not the case, is from what I understand. Now we have some opportunities and we have some options of what we can do. But that bank of courts one and two that are circled, that's really our last major problem, right? Our upper courts drain quite well. Yeah, we have some fences that could probably get straightened up and painted, but overall, the courts one and two, once three, four, and five are healthy, those will be kind of the last thing to address. Now, what can we do with that? You could keep them as hard true. You could convert them to a hard court or a grass court, but that is going to be something that we'll talk about here in a moment. But after that, that is really our last remaining issue. This is a really cool photo that Scott sent me as well from the. Now, again, you guys will have to help me out, but I guess the main clubhouse might have changed its aesthetic a bit. But from what I understand, these are the grass tennis courts, which are visible from the clubhouse. I think so. That's from what I've been told. All right. So speaking of lawn tennis, and I think that everyone has their own opinion on grass, and I'm not here to preach about one surface or another, but what I will tell you has changed a lot. Grass courts are very different than what they used to be like. I have been fortunate enough to play on quite a few different grass courts in different types of grass, different areas of the country. And what you'll notice now is, especially with these new grass courts, they play much, much more similar to a hard court. The bounce is truer, ball stays up, they're more durable. And so if you look at this wear pattern from 82, everyone used to have to serve and volley and just come to the net because you knew if the ball bounced, it wasn't coming up too high. And so that was the advantage. Now you look at all of the Wimbledon in the last few years, the wear pattern is completely different. The game is completely different. They're playing from the baseline. 10 or actually, 30 years ago, the idea that a guy like Nadal could actually win Wimbledon would be unfathomable. But this is the way the game has changed, and it's really changed because of the grass itself. So there's different types of grass systems. One that is kind of a cutting edge technology that is we were able to play test recently. They put it down at the Breakers in Palm Beach in Florida. Very similar. So the hard true courts that we're rebuilding, 3, 4, and 5, we're doing those with underground irrigation. So it's essentially a bladder system that lives beneath the court. We are no longer watering from top down. Okay, so the water seeps in from below. If I go back to my previous slides, you can see that some of the courts are very dusty and kind of white by the kind of that chalk by the end of the day. That should not happen because they should be constantly getting that water from beneath. And so it's not only a consistent playing surface, but we don't have to close the courts down. This system's phenomenal, and it's with grass. Similar idea. Capillary flow system. And what's really interesting about this one is that this layer right here, which is right below that grass, is this super dense sand, which if you've ever have grandkids or kids that have kinetic sand, I don't know if you've ever seen that, but a kinetic sand is almost sticks together. It's like a very, very dense sand. And the concept is that the grass grows through that. And so right below that grass layer is a very dense packed surface so that it plays much more like a hard court. The durability of those courts is phenomenal as well. The director who's been there for 37 years was absolutely just raving about them the entire time we were there. So that will be an option. Padel. So already 35 million players worldwide. They're adding courts at the pace of nearly 40 per day. I think a lot of times people think that this is more of a higher level sport, but at any level, it's low impact. It's easy to pick up. It's an underhand serve. Why is pickleball so popular? That's a huge reason why. The point always starts. Whereas in tennis, somebody misses their serve, they got to go do the routine, do the second serve. So I think that's another big benefit of the sport itself. But it combines elements of tennis, squash, and platform tennis, and it's really elegant. That's the other part about it. That's a panoramic court, so they're mostly glass. They do have a little bit of that. This is kind of a cage right over here, but for the most part, it's pretty well blended into the scenery. The surface itself is a carpeted surface, so it's a lot softer on the body. And again, as popular as pickleball is in the US, this is way more popular in Europe than pickleball is. So a lot of people playing this worldwide. So this is a potential idea of where all of that could live. Now, again, this is just an option that the board and the membership can noodle on. But why is that now? Let's see. Do I have a better picture of it? Okay, good. So you can see this slide here, where we have the bank of three and the bank of two, and so we would want to square this off here if we were to go that route to give yourself a little more room. So if you've ever played on lawn tennis, essentially what this is what you're looking at here is that you're going to be two of these playing. So these are being played from beginning to the rest of the grass there, and these are being played. And the next is moving. And that gives the grass an opportunity to recover. Now, after seeing the breakers courts and knowing that they have all of the hotel guests and all of the activity they have, and they're still in phenomenal shape, it gives me a lot of confidence that they will hold up very well. The other thing that gives me a lot of confidence is the fact that Scott Vincent is phenomenal at what he does. That croquet court that you see on that edge of that picture, that is not normal. I got to go to some other clubs in Florida and some very nice clubs that you hear about, and I couldn't wait to check them out. And I went, oh, quite as nice as our court. So, and then those Padel courts, this is also will be a potential place to put the Padel courts. So again, nothing has been approved, nothing has been set in stone by any means. There are other places that they could potentially land, but those are some options. So with that, this is our current complex in its current state. And if you have any questions, I'd love to field them.
Thank you, everybody.
Great presentation. I love what you're seeing. Very pleased that we done perfectly see.
I'll work on that. Yeah.
It's cool idea. I'm kind of curious in terms of the case that you made. Was it made as a differentiator or unseater or demand in terms of demand?
Really good question. Yeah, so a lot of the discussion, and this preceded my coming here, but the conversations have been those courts were graphed before, and you could actually from the main clubhouse see the lawn tennis courts from over here. Seeing the croquet court and just how elegant that is too, looking down to the golf course, it's funny. I'm sitting in the shop often where you hear golfers make the turn and they kind of go by the shop and they don't know that we can necessarily hear them. So don't say anything to that. But I often hear them just raving about the croquet court and like, Jessica, oh, dang, look at that thing. And well, do you play? No, I just like looking at it. And so it's the aesthetic is phenomenal. It would set us apart. I feel like we have the capacity for it with our membership that we can sustain it and it wouldn't be a big risk. And yeah, just the differentiator and the ability to do like a Wimbledon event on the grass would be very, very, very cool. But mainly it was a kind of harkening back to history like this photo suggests. I'll get to you on that. So,
It is all looking at team back to the teams that taking my work on.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll give it our best crack, and I actually need to give a shout out to my wife, who's been phenomenal and super supportive of me as we figure all that out because it's been a busy start to this season. So yeah, thank you. I also didn't include any pictures of my family because if I started doing that, then I was just adding them all. But I'm starting to play racket sports with my son too, and he's 12 and he's 10. But I did want to say thank you also to my wife for dressing me today because I almost came out here not looking very good. So,
Well, and basically, the able to it's problem. You know, you might get lessons for our family. Really, what is it you continue going forward for the last several years? And when you're
that's a really good question. I think leaning into these other, like pickleball is such a great equalizer and it brings in, and honestly, part of the reason I had such great growth in my last position, I did this impromptu pickleball thing, and we had a member who just said, "I just got to play pickleball with like three generations of my family. How cool is that?" And quietly said, "I will pay for half of the complex" to my general manager, and said, "Like, let's build these tomorrow," kind of thing. And so that was an eye opener for me. I wasn't trying to add pickleball. I just thought it was kind of fun to do this exhibition in front of the membership, and then it's like, wow, okay, people are really responding to that, and now seeing how even with my own family, my parents are in their 70s and still able to play and have a lot of fun with their grandkids on the court and me as well. So I think leaning into those kinds of sports rather than like single squash, right, which is probably okay. We're probably not going to grow the senior segment of the single squash program. But I think the Dell is a huge part of that too. I think that the softness of the court. I also think it'll get people coming back out that maybe don't want to serve overhand as much too. Um, and then also just the youth programming that we're providing. I'm really excited about all the youth stuff that we're doing, just getting more families into the building. As you can tell, I came from a tennis family, and it means a lot to me when I see families spending time together hitting balls and not on screens, which is a constant conversation in the household.
and Grace is now full time, wonderful acquisition.
Oh, she's amazing. And, we forget that Grace has been here for quite a while, but she's only been here, she was here while she was in high school and then in college. So actually having a full year to plan and come up with some really creative and, interesting ideas and execute them, she's just getting started. So I'm very fortunate, very excited to have the opportunity to work with such great young men and women. And yeah, I think that this program, we got a lot to do. It'll be fun for a while.
Also, a little bit about your international teaching professionals that you brought in.
Yeah, it's been fun to wasn't I wasn't intentionally just trying to get all internationals. I promise you that. But part of the state of the reality of college tennis is my senior year. When I played at Gonzaga. I played one American my senior year. One. Think about that. I played every single match, doubles match. I mean, I don't know how many matches I played with one American. So the reality is that just tennis in general is a very international sport. You look at the Gonzaga's roster now. I don't. There's hardly an American. We got maybe the only one in Gus Crowell who we brought in. Uh, so it's part of the reality of just the talent level that's out there. And then also happenstance. We got, if you didn't know, Nikki Donnelly came to us from Billy Pate, who's the head coach for Princeton University. And so Billy Pate has come out here the last couple of years and just loves the club, and got to really love him as well. And he saw that we would be a great fit for Nikki, and I couldn't agree more. It's just been phenomenal. So uh, it has been interesting. We got a little bit of everything now, and we're going to be doing a Junior Davis Cup event in a couple of weeks. That's going to be pretty fun, where the kids are going to be assigned to Team Ireland or Team New Zealand or Team South Africa. So yeah, it's fun and definitely kind of on brand for the college experience right now.
All right. Well, how many do you know? I think we counted six.
Different,
Ricky, French guy.
yeah, Antoine, yeah. Yeah, no, and they're all from a little bit different backgrounds, which is kind of fun. So, yeah, I'm learning a lot of new words.
Let's just say,
Yeah, yes, they're all staying at the dorms here, and yeah, they're really happy there, and it's been a great situation.
are we going to be back or going into the winter?
Good question. So, Nikki is here year round. Gus Crowell is here now year round. Chris Dang has one more year to return back to University of Montana. Johnny, my Irish lad, he's only a sophomore, so he's going back to college. Um, Antoine is, I hired him as he's not really like a rackets professional. He was really more, he actually was Gonzaga's tennis team manager. And so when I was looking for an assistant, he actually sent me a message and said, look, I'm not who you're looking for, but I love racket sports and I would love to maybe help you out this winter. And so we brought him on, and I'll tell you what, he's been very well received. People seem to really love him. And so I actually brought in a master rackets technician the other day to do a streaming workshop